Some of Britain's most common health conditions cause serious suffering.
Ow, these aren't nice.
These are common conditions, but we don't talk much about them. Millions suffer in silence.
What is the point of my life if I'm just sort of there and existing?
And current treatments often just don't cut it.
I start getting angry. What can I have? What can I eat?
One of these conditions is migraine.
Like putting your head in a vice. You do feel like someone's got like a screwdriver or something that's like digging it. It is horrendous.
It affects 1 in 7 of us, or almost 10 million people in Britain. That's more than diabetes or even asthma.
People will be like, oh, a migraine, it's just a headache. You wouldn't say that if you walked in my shoes.
I'm Dr. Dawn Harper, and I've been a GP for more than 25 years. I've met thousands of people who suffer from migraine, and I'm often frustrated by the treatments available. Many sufferers get no relief from their current remedies. So I want to find out how to win the battle against migraine.
In a month or 2 time, my life could be so much more normal.
I'll investigate common migraine myths and misunderstandings, including whether what you eat triggers an attack.
Too much. Migraine.
I'm meeting up with some of the worst migraine sufferers in Britain to put the latest treatments to the test.
It's tingling. Oh, it's kind of weird.
To see what works and what doesn't.
The headache never came, so I count that as a win.
Tonight, I want to show you how to stop your migraine. Meet Hannah from Grimsby. She's just 22, yet her life is being destroyed by migraine. She gets them almost every single day.
I mean, I can go to sleep without one and then wake up with, from the minute I wake up, like boom, there it is.
Where do you feel the headache?
It varies, so it can start like here in my head and then it can move throughout the day to the other side. I can get it top of my skull, back of my head. Sometimes it radiates like down my neck.
And what does it feel like?
Like putting your head in a vice. You do feel like someone's got like a screwdriver or something that's like digging it. It is horrendous.
How a migraine starts in the brain isn't completely understood. The cells interact with each other differently, resulting in a whole host of symptoms. An excruciating headache is perhaps the most famous symptom of all. But ask Hannah or anyone that gets migraine, and they'll tell you the headache is just one of many. Hannah can feel nausea, be sick, and be unable to tolerate light. She also gets something called migraine with aura. This tends to affect the vision, making migraineurs see zigzags or stars, but it can cause other sensations like pins and needles. Hannah's symptoms are more extreme. She becomes temporarily blinded.
I can't really do much once the vision loss is gone.
Does your vision go completely? How
Yeah.
scary. Hannah's had migraines on and off since she was 13, but 3 years ago, migraine started affecting her almost every day.
I went to Florida with my mum. From coming back, that was when they just sort of got ramped up. I think I've had like 2 or 3 clear days in about 2 years.
Hearing Hannah's story is heartbreaking. Throughout all my time as a GP, I've only seen a handful of cases as extreme as hers. You must not be able to function. I mean, what happened work-wise?
I worked in a GP surgery as a healthcare assistant. I did lose my job through migraines, and I loved that job. And I did. I loved it so much because you bond with your patients, your co-workers, and it was tough. It was a tough blow.
It must feel like your life's on hold a little bit.
Massively, yeah, massively. Because you see, like everyone else at my age, they're all just graduating from uni and doing all the things that a 22-year-old, 23-year-old should be doing, and I'm just, every day I wake up and it's like, oh great, another headache.
And Ben, Hannah's boyfriend, knows better than anyone the enormous impact migraine has had on her life.
She tries her very best to sort of bottle this stuff up. She don't like showing it It's difficult as a couple because we can't really plan for her a day. We've got to just go day by day because we don't know whether she's going to be all right when she wakes up. She hates not being able to just, even if it's just going to work, she hates not being able to do it because her own body's stopping her from doing something. So I hope she just gets that sorted mainly. It'll give her overall freedom to start living again, I think, because I think it does take out of her a lot.
I'm determined to help Hannah get her freedom back too. But she's already spent years trying different preventative treatments that simply haven't worked for her.
I've been on candesartan, propranolol, amitriptyline, and there's another one, topiramate I've tried.
Wow, okay. So you've pretty much been through the formulary?
Yeah.
Okay. And did any of those help?
Topiramate helped. It completely wiped out my headaches, completely went all the side effects that you could get on topiramate I got.
I've been researching a surprising treatment she is yet to try. It's reserved for the unlucky 2% of the population who have chronic migraine, like Hannah. And incredibly, it can reduce migraine attacks in around 70% of those who try it. Yet it was discovered quite by chance. Botox. That's right, famed for smoothing the faces of A-listers and Z-listers alike. It's actually one of the deadliest toxins produced by bacteria in the world. So how on earth can it help with migraine? I'm in Hull with Hannah to meet consultant neurologist Dr. Ahmed, one of the first pioneers of the treatment here in the UK.
Now, Botox obviously found out accidentally that it works for migraine from the American beauty clinics long time ago, 30 years ago, when people came for treatment cosmetically and reported that their headaches got better. So I think now there is a very good evidence to suggest that people who have got chronic migraine, about 7 out of 10 people do very well.
Yeah. But before you cry migraine for a free de-wrinkle, be warned. It's definitely not easy to get Botox on the NHS.
Just think, Hannah, there's women in their 40s that would love this.
Hannah is only eligible because she has chronic migraine and can't find a treatment that works.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Each round of treatment requires 31 injections.
I'm guessing though, on a scale of 0 to 10, it's not nearly as bad as the migraines that
No.
you get.
The Botox is injected into the nerve endings around the neck and head. It's not known how Botox stops migraine. One theory is that it disrupts nerve signalling, both stopping the headache pain and future migraines.
I think that's where I get most of my headaches, actually. Ow.
It might not be one for needlephobes, but Hannah will try anything.
Ow. These aren't nice.
Hannah will have to go through all this again when she has her next treatment course in 3 months' time.
So, how was that, Hannah?
I think it was a lot more painful than I thought it was going to be, but I could get used to it if it helped.
So, what are you hoping for now? It's
no headaches.
No headaches.
Yes, get my life back.
Okay, yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, you can see from that, Hannah really doesn't like injections. And the fact that she's prepared to go through 31 of those tells a story all of its own.
Coming up, I discover whether Botox injections really can stop your migraine. I reveal the extreme treatment you'd never realise could help reduce migraine attacks. And I find out whether chocolate and cheese could be causing your migraine. In this programme, I want to help you tackle your migraine. With around 1 in 7 of us suffering from them, there are nearly 200,000 migraine attacks a day across the UK. So I've recruited 3 severe migraine sufferers to put cutting-edge treatments to the test. As well as investigating the latest treatment options, I'm also on a mission to tackle some migraine myths that drive me crazy whenever I hear them. And the first myth I want to smash is one I hear all the time. Do certain foods cause a migraine? Professor Anne McGregor from Barts Health NHS Trust has been researching migraine for more than 30 years.
An individual has the migraine anything up to 24 to 48 hours before they actually get the headache.
Yes, you heard correctly. The attack starts well before the headache begins. In fact, it is split into 4 distinct stages: the premonitory, aura, headache, and postdrome. Anne is talking about the premonitory.
So the chemical changes have already started, but they may just cause very subtle symptoms that may be mistaken as triggers. And the relevance of that is particularly when it comes to diet.
Craving sweet things has been shown to be a symptom of the migraine rather than being a cause.
A common early symptom is somebody starts craving for something really sweet, and they eat the chocolate, and then they wake up with a migraine the next day. So what do? They blame the chocolate, because that's what everybody says: cheese, chocolate, alcohol, X, Y, Z will trigger off your migraine. We've managed to show people who were convinced that cheese or chocolate were migraine triggers actually aren't relevant to them.
So what are the known triggers for migraine?
So bear in mind, triggers are individual. The commonest ones are dehydration, skipping meals or low blood sugar, going too long without sleeping, long car journeys or travel.
These triggers might be tolerated individually, but when they build up, they can start to cause problems.
If we just imagine that this is a migrainous brain and these are our triggers,
Yeah.
how does it work?
You will have some triggers present every day, but they won't trigger off a migraine. So let's say you travel to work every day, then having to get up a little bit earlier, and then it's actually quite a stressful day.
But you have no symptoms at this stage.
But you have no symptoms at this stage. No, you're fine. Your brain is acting normally.
But there's a level, and cross it, and there's no stopping the migraine.
Here, another stressful day, and oh my goodness, it's that time of the month.
And the hormones kick in.
And you might have painful periods as well. Couple the top of that, and then too much migraine.
And if hormones are a trigger, is that why 1 in 5 women get migraine compared to 1 in 15 men?
Migraine doesn't like hormone changes. It doesn't mind if the hormone levels are high. It doesn't mind if the hormone levels are low, but it doesn't like it when they're fluctuating.
So, migraine does not like change. And what you ate yesterday isn't necessarily the cause of your migraine. To really understand, keep a diary. That way you can work out your actual triggers. My next volunteer worked out her triggers years ago. Linda lives in Troon with her husband John and 2 young kids. She's had migraine for decades and gets them most weeks. In that time, she's worked out exactly what causes them. But knowing her triggers doesn't mean she can stop them.
I have a terrible sensitivity to light. Then the nausea comes, which often for me, I would say 90% of the time leads to actual vomiting when the headache comes. And then the more severe symptoms that I get can be loss of vision, loss of sensation in my hands. And I did have one headache recently where I was having a conversation with my parents, and I realised that what I was trying to say in my head and what I could hear were not the same thing. And the harder I tried for the words to come out, the less sense I was making. So that scared me.
And Linda deals with this whilst looking after 7-year-old Will and Alex, who's 3.
How do the boys cope with it?
They know that Mommy gets headaches, and when Mommy gets a headache, she needs to go into a room for a little while, and she likes a dark room where it's nice and quiet.
When she has a bad attack, what's that like?
I mean, there's been everything from I've received phone calls from her boss at the time to say that Linda had a migraine, and I've had to go and pick her up from work. There have been other cases where Linda, she kind of loses the ability to balance as well, and there's a lot of sensory overload, so if there's a big bright light or something like that. So generally, if she's got a migraine, I'll run upstairs or I'll run to wherever it is we're going, turn off all the lights so that it's nice and dark for her, and get the bedroom ready by closing all the blackout blinds and things like that. And then I'll usually have to help her up the stairs.
I'm very fortunate that my parents live close and they can come and help. There have been times where I've picked up the phone and I've just said to my mum, migraine, when I remember it clearly, my little one was sitting on one leg and I was being sick on a bucket that was on my other leg. So yeah, when you have it, there's really nothing you can do except go to bed.
Linda follows a rigid routine to try and prevent her migraines.
If I don't eat small amounts often, that can really set me off. Likewise with sleep, it gets too late at night. My kids don't really sleep particularly well, so I know if I don't go to bed early enough, I'm not going to get enough sleep and I'll suffer for it the next day.
But she can't manage them all the time. And there's one thing she has no control over: her period.
Since I've been young, I've had a monthly hormonal headache. There's really not an awful lot I've found that you can do about that. It's coming, come hell or high water.
So if you think your time of the month is bad, imagine dealing with this as well.
Right here, all the way around to here, is all kaleidoscope vision, so I really can't see very well. No peripheral vision at all on this side. And in fact, it's black in the corner. So that's a pretty good indication that I'm in for a rough evening.
Around half of women who get migraines notice a link with their period. Linda takes drugs to manage her migraine symptoms, but they don't always work, and nothing prevents her attacks. I think I've found her a potentially game-changing treatment, and it takes advantage of something right on her doorstep: the sea.
Cold water swimming has already been shown to have real benefit for treating a range of conditions and diseases. After some research, I've tracked down Beth, a chronic migraine sufferer from North Wales. She undertook her own experiment by swimming for 100 days straight in the sea.
She's seen an incredible reduction in the severity and number of her migraine attacks. And I'm excited that this drug-free treatment might do wonders for Linda too. I asked Beth to visit Linda to encourage her to have a dip in the sea and give it a go.
You ready? Definitely.
Let's do
this.
this.
Wow.
And they're braver than me. These are the coastal waters of Scotland in the middle of winter, and the water is freezing.
The cold is seeping in my wetsuit.
Yeah.
I'm a little short of breath initially. It's cold when you get in, but you can kind of tell both of us now it doesn't take you too long to adjust to it.
I'm going to burn off the calories for my Kit Kat.
You don't need to spend long in the water to see a benefit either. In fact, stay too long and you could give yourself hypothermia.
8.5 degrees.
How long have we been in?
11 minutes.
Cool.
So after a session of just 15 minutes, they head home to warm up and chat.
I was having, I think, 25 to 30 migraines a month. And when we started swimming, it quite quickly dropped off to about 15. And now I kind of sit around 10.
There's a theory that cold water causes the release of endorphins, which could have a powerful effect on pain.
I've had morphine for really bad migraines in hospital.
Oh, me too.
And I think the cold water is exactly like that, but without the horrible kind of groggy side effects.
When's the best time to get in the water? Is it when you feel the onset of the headache, or is it think you're coming out at the other end?
I think, to be honest, at any point. I've swum with pretty awful migraines where my partner Andy has kind of had to almost like prop me up all the way to the water. And I've also done it when I've had the aura, and it's helped every single stage.
Every facet of it.
Yeah.
So now I want to go back to something I've not done for a very long time, which is keep a migraine diary.
Yeah.
And then also put in there when I go out and swim and see if there's any correlation in the length of migraine, the severity of it, or the frequency of them. It would be great if it stopped having as many to begin with.
Migraine might affect more women, but it is still a big and often hidden problem for men. Meet Richard from Hull. Migraine has had a devastating impact on Richard's life for the last 10 years. He's been through an array of different drugs without much success.
More into the sort of nerve type medications now. Gabapentin, people with epilepsy get this. Tizanidine, that's a muscle relaxant. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 with the triptan. You know, they mess around with your brain chemicals, and nobody wants to be taking these drugs.
This severe lack of migraine-specific drugs means the treatments available are either not very effective or come with intolerable side effects. So Richard has devised his own coping mechanisms.
I'll put some cold packs on my forehead and on the back of my neck. So if I apply this, I have to try and get this sort of up here, and then this one, if I just peel that over there, that's it. And then what I find is that you can feel the cold already, and because my head's generally oversensitive, it distracts from the pain.
Richard's crippling headaches are ruining his life. He is still managing to hold on to his job as an IT analyst, but the lack of treatment affects every aspect of his day.
And I spend a lot of time sat on my couch, just watching the world go by, trying to occupy my mind. It's always there. It's unrelenting. It's stopping me doing things with my car, fix things and repair things, doing DIY in the house. I really miss sort of just being able to do that sense of freedom. It hurts, you know. You don't want to nobody wants to let other people down.
And it creates other challenges for Richard.
It really does sort of knock your libido. If like you've got a headache, I think it's the butt of all jokes is, oh, I've got a headache, go away. You know, but it is true. I mean, I laugh now, but you can imagine it's just not fun.
As years living like this mount up, Richard is struggling.
It does get upsetting, and you feel like you're your own prisoner, you're also your own jailer. I just feel like a body that exists, really, rather than a person with some sort of satisfying life. What is the point of my life if I'm just sort of there and existing?
Richard lives with his girlfriend, Kirsty, and she has seen firsthand how migraine impacts his life.
When we first met, he didn't mention it, so I had no idea really that he had headaches as bad as he gets them. Generally, I think because it's pretty much a day-to-day thing, it's more that I notice when he doesn't have a headache, because it'll be like, right, let's go and do something. It's like, what? Where's this come from?
When we first started dating, it was like 4 years ago. So the headaches, the frequency wasn't quite as much. It was still pervasive. You know, we can't be that spontaneous.
Sometimes it's so difficult to just be in a room with me, never mind having to integrate with everyone else.
But there's hope on the horizon. Researchers here in London have helped create the first specific drug for the prevention of migraine. And it's just been approved. It's a treatment I hope could change Richard's life. Professor Peter Goadsby from King's College London was instrumental in its discovery.
There's a chemical in the blood that circulates during a migraine attack. It's called calcitonin gene-related peptide, or CGRP is a more friendly identification, which we identified in the late 1980s as something that was increased during migraine.
This was a huge breakthrough. Scientists now had a target, and they hit the bullseye by creating the first ever drug class designed specifically to prevent migraine attacks. And it's pretty clever how they work. They can either bind to the CGRP chemical circulating in the blood, stopping it from being able to carry out its function, or they can block the sites in the brain that it would normally interact with. Both ways render the chemical useless and stop the migraine attack. But it doesn't work for everyone.
And how successful is it?
So about half of patients will have half their attacks go away. About 25% will have 3/4 of their attacks go away. And about 20% will have all of their attacks go away.
Is potentially going to significantly affect quality of life for an awful lot of people.
It doesn't fix everybody. It'll affect quality of life for a big group of people who get a response. But what it shows is if you understand a condition properly, you can develop specific treatments and a group of people will do very well. And what we have to do is redouble our efforts for those who aren't going to respond to this to find the next thing that we can do.
But it's a risk Richard is willing to take.
Are you excited about it?
Yeah, there's a bit of apprehension of, well, if I'm in the unlucky 50%, then so be it, I guess. But there's some excitement there that this, in a month or two time, my life could be so much more normal in comparison to what I've experienced for the past several years.
Richard is meeting with his consultant, Dr. Ahmed, who will show him how to use the injection.
Press it.
Yeah, that's it.
And then just push.
Yeah.
You can see the liquid coming out.
Mm-hmm. So you'll have 2 injections exactly a month. We'll see you on the 23rd of April to see whether we should continue or whether we should stop the treatment.
Yes. Well, let's hope that,
good luck.
Thank you.
Given the enormous impact that migraine has on his life, I'm really hopeful that Richard will be one of the lucky patients who could see a total reduction. Coming up, I'll show you how this bit of tech could help stop your migraine attacks. And I will tackle the most common myth of all, that migraines are just a bad headache. Welcome back to my mission to beat migraine. It's a condition that affects an incredible 1 billion people around the world. As a GP, I wish I had more treatments that I could give to my patients. So I've recruited 3 volunteers who are trying out different migraine treatments for me. Richard is putting a revolutionary new drug to the test.
It's been a whole week since I had the Inurab treatment. I haven't noticed any benefits. I've had the same degree of headaches and the same frequency. One positive bit of news is that I have had 0 side effects from this drug. I'm on the highest dose, but everything's been pretty much as it was before I had the drug.
But he's only 1 week in, and some patients take months to see a benefit. Hannah, however, has seen some early improvements from her Botox injections.
Since the treatment that I've had, a lot of migraines that I'm getting are shorter and less, I want to say less painful, but they're not lasting as long.
And Linda is getting some great results from her cold water swimming.
I had a pounding headache all down the back of my neck. My shoulders have been like this all day, curled up and hunched. And now I've been for a swim, 20 minutes in the sea. It was about 8 degrees. And look at this, neck, shoulders are down. I feel a lot more relaxed. My headache is still there, but it's definitely not nearly as bad as it was earlier.
I was delighted with Linda's progress and somehow got talked into agreeing to go for a swim with her one freezing day. But unfortunately, the weather has other ideas.
This is hooling a gale and it's hailing, and I've come to Troon to go wild water swimming with Linda. And normally I'm up for a challenge, but I think that is probably a challenge too far. This is crazy.
All right, I wasn't exactly gutted about not going in. The winds are currently blowing gusts of over 45 miles an hour, making it unsafe to swim.
How often would you go out normally?
I normally get out a couple of times a week when the weather is good, but the past month has been a challenge, and I've not been out for 2 weeks. You're at the mercy of the weather, and you've got to be safe.
Yeah.
As wild as it looks, all my brain is thinking is how wonderful it feels to have that water rushing over you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not a cell in my brain that's thinking that. So has it helped your migraines?
Oh, it definitely helps in a preventative sense, because the kind of stress-induced headaches, just feeling the water washing over you and the coldness, and it's quite cleansing. But also when I'm symptomatic, when you get out there, it reduces the severity of them.
If you want to give this a go, know when it's safe to swim. Check the wind, temperature and local currents. Only swim at temperatures you're comfortable with, and don't swim for more than 15 minutes. If you can, join a local group like Linda so you can always swim with others. Given the often unpredictable Scottish weather, I want to find Linda another treatment she can use when the winds are just too high. So I've sent her to the National Migraine Centre in London to meet Dr. Jessica Briscoe.
So the Cafferly is a neuromodulation device, which basically means it's a nerve stimulator.
It may look small, inconsequential and something out of Star Trek, But this device promises great things. It interrupts the nerves in the forehead, sending signals to the brain.
You essentially just pop it on the front of your head here, attached to the pad. You press the button, you leave it on for 20 minutes and it sort of buzzes. Some people go to sleep when they have it on. Some people will just sit around and do their normal things. People use it either as a preventative, but other people find that it's really good to use during an attack. We always say to try things for at least 3 months. It takes at least 6 weeks for any intervention to make a difference.
It really gives me hope that this device might be able to help either reduce the severity or the amount of attacks, the frequency.
You'll know fairly quickly whether it's helping you during an attack because you'll put it on and you'll think, oh, that's awful, or you'll think, actually, yes, I feel a lot better.
Back home, Linda is eager to give the Kefli a go.
Oh, okay. So it's on. It's tingling. Oh, it's kind of weird. Not unpleasant weird. I can kind of feel it across here and I can feel it up here too. So it's just kind of like an intense tingling. I feel like my eyebrows are vibrating a little too, but it's like creating an indefinite heat sensation. To be honest, I can see how people fall asleep with it on. Might just go to bed now, let it run for the next 5 minutes and fall asleep.
I'm excited that this device and the cold water swimming might finally give Linda some relief. Like many sufferers, migraine has been a lifelong battle for her. Myths and misunderstandings mean those without migraine can struggle to understand the real impact it can have, which can make migraine an incredibly lonely condition. So I've brought Hannah, Linda and Richard together to give them a chance to share their own experiences of the condition.
It affects my husband, it affects my friend.
Yeah.
She comes and helps when I need it.
Every time I have one, I just apologise to anyone that's looked after me, whether it be my boyfriend, my mum. I just feel bad that they're coming and looking after me again.
It affects how I can perform at work. It's just all-encompassing, really. For sort of from 5 till 5, I'm pretty much 60% of what is me. And it's to be able to function in society, it's pretty difficult just battling through every day.
We're kind of helpless. There's nothing really that anybody can do to help. That's the kind of sad thing about it, you know.
Do you find that sometimes people don't quite get the severity of what you're experiencing?
All the time. Like, it's one of my bugbears. People will be like, oh, a migraine, it's just a headache. You wouldn't say that if you walked in my shoes.
People that aren't suffering and don't quite understand what's going on with you, it's, you know, they don't live in your shoes. They are going to think like that well, pop some paracetamol. You know, those days have long gone where you could just pop paracetamol and carry on being a normal person.
Do you think that there are some people who perhaps say they've got a migraine but are not walking in your shoes at all?
100%. 100%.
It's clear from talking with Linda, Hannah and Richard that they find the lack of understanding around the condition really frustrating. And their biggest bugbear, that people think it's just a bad headache. So I want to bust that myth for them, once and for all.
I feel as a GP there is a perception out there that migraine is just a headache. What would you say to that?
Migraine is a much more complex condition than just being a headache. It involves a range of symptoms, and for some people the headache is even not the biggest part of it.
In fact, you might be surprised to hear some migraineurs don't get a headache at all.
To think of it as just a headache really underestimates the complexity of what's going on in the brain.
By scanning the brain during attacks, Peter's shown that the areas responsible for different symptoms are active at different stages of the attacks, proving that migraine is far more than just a colossal headache.
On the left-hand side, in the bottom, there's a little blob, and what that is the nausea area, and this is in patients who had nausea. On the right-hand side, what you see at the back of the brain are blobs that are in the vision, the seeing part of the brain, and that's active in patients who are sensitive to light.
Remember the 4 stages of migraine from earlier? Peter's helped create solid proof that the headache stage, the 3rd stage, is just one of the 4. and can start days after the attack has begun. From brain fog and irritability at the start to fatigue and the inability to concentrate at the end, the headache is just a drop in the ocean of symptoms that a migraineur may experience.
What we're starting to unravel with this is that the symptoms people say, they're a thing, they're real.
Migraine is a very common condition and a very debilitating condition for a lot of people. So why has it taken us so long to start to get some answers?
Migraine affects 1 billion people. It's the commonest cause of disability in under 50s in the world.
Wow.
It's wow in size, and it's wee in terms of the funding that's happened for research.
Is that because migraine, although it is a hideously debilitating condition for many, is not a fatal condition?
And to put it bluntly, I think that the problem is migraine's predominantly a condition of women between the age of 20 and 55, and there are a lot of prejudices about pain and complex conditions that occur in women. People don't think of it as biological. I think if it was a condition of men between the age of 20 and 55, you might find the world was a different place.
Oh.
Coming up, I bust another myth about whether migraines really make you see stars. And I find out whether any of the cutting-edge treatment plans have worked. Welcome back to my journey through the world of migraine and my mission to see if there's a way to beat this life-ruining condition. I've recruited 3 different volunteers to put Botox, cold water swimming and a cutting-edge drug to the test. I'm also busting some common myths about the condition. Earlier, I saw Hannah undergo a gruelling 31 injections of Botox in a bid to stop her migraine. I'm back in Grimsby to see how she's getting on.
How's it been?
Really good. I think I had one on Monday, 2 days ago.
Right.
It didn't last very long. It wasn't a migraine, it was just a headache.
So pretty much, well, migraine-free and almost headache-free for a week.
Yeah.
When was the last time that happened to you?
About 4 years ago, I think. I'm very sceptical, and obviously going so long with headaches, I'm sort of waiting for the headache to come.
Almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
You couldn't plan anything. How close are you, do you think, to starting to maybe be able to plan a few things?
I mean, I'm going away tomorrow for a couple of days to see my boyfriend, so it would be nice to just be a 22-year-old that's in a relationship. It would be nice.
If it was to carry on like this, what kind of difference do you think it's going to make to your future?
I can finally go and do what I want to do at uni, maybe start a career.
So that light at the end of the tunnel's getting a little bit brighter.
Yeah, I can finally see it, I think.
It's early days, but it's great Hannah is already seeing positive results. As well as exploring migraine treatment options, I'm also looking to bust myths around the condition. As a GP, I'm always astounded by the number of patients I see who don't believe they have migraine simply because they don't see stars or zigzags. I want to bust this myth once and for all. Do you have to see stars to have a migraine? I'm travelling to meet Dr. Anna Andreou from King's College London. One of her research interests is migraine with aura. The aura, if you get it, is the second stage of a migraine attack and is the shortest. So how common is migraine with aura?
It's actually the minority, only about 20% of the patients may experience, and not even with all migraine attacks.
And what is even less well known is that aura doesn't just affect vision.
Patients may also experience some sensory symptoms like pins and needles, usually starting from the hand, moving upwards the arm to include the face, speech difficulties. So people can think they are using the right words, but actually what comes out of their mouth is not very clear.
So what's actually happening when someone experiences aura?
I think that the phenomenon that is behind the migraine aura symptoms is what is called cortical spreading depression.
Cortical spreading depression is basically a wave of electrical activity that starts in the visual area at the back of the brain and spreads across one side. Anna's research has enabled her to visualise this phenomenon.
The wave indicated by the green dye is what we think happens in the brain during a migraine aura. The migraine aura will be induced at the very back part of the outer part of the brain, and it will spread forward.
As the wave spreads through brain cells, it causes a change in their activity, temporarily interfering with their normal function. And this explains why symptoms like pins and needles or speech difficulties are seen. The wave spreads into these areas too.
So that's why patients who do get aura often get visual symptoms before the wave has spread to cause pain.
That's correct.
So remember, just because you don't get aura, that doesn't mean you aren't suffering from a migraine. 3 people that definitely do get migraine are Hannah, Richard and Linda. Have any of the treatments they've tested worked? Hannah has been trying Botox injections. Richard has put a revolutionary new drug to the test, and Linda has been trying a combination of cold water swimming and a device that disrupts her nerve signals. Now for the moment of truth. The results. Before her Botox, Hannah was having a migraine nearly every single day.
I was having like 27, 28 migraines in a month, which was a lot. But now I'm having at least like 7 or 8 clear days, I'd say, so that's going up. I think the Botox has helped me now. I think when I do get a migraine now, it's not as sharp or lasting as long. So I had one the other week and it lasted about 2 or 3 hours.
And this massive reduction in her migraine means Hannah can finally start to get her life back on track.
Going back to college to do an access to higher education course, to go to uni to do nursing, which I've been putting off because of migraines, because I've not been able to keep up with it. It's stuff now that I'm just getting my life back on track, and I do definitely feel like a 23-year-old now, which is an absolute bonus.
Across the Humber, Richard has had his second antibody injection. He's not seeing any change yet, but it can take months to see a benefit.
So I started the antibody treatment about 6 weeks ago now. I'm not really feeling any change at the moment, nothing sort of significant. But, if I'm fortunate enough that it really does kick in and it leads to more days like this where I can just get out, do things, experience the world that we live in, that'd be sort of great.
Linda has been using a combination of therapies. She's been cold water swimming, and when the sea's too choppy to swim, she's been using a more weather-friendly device. The combination seems to be working.
The other night, I was just sitting down to have dinner, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I got the vision loss on one side and it started to close in on the other side. And so I took myself off to bed. I put the Kefli device on the 1 hour cycle and fell asleep. I woke up at just past 7 the next morning. So that was a long sleep, but the headache never came. So I count that as a win.
But for her, the real revelation is the cold water therapy.
It might sound a little bit over the top, but it's improving my quality of life. I'm definitely having less days suffering from the migraine symptoms. I'm very happy with the progress so far. Anything that can give me some time back is just great, because life can't just stop every time you get a migraine.
Not every treatment will work for every migraine sufferer, and none can cure migraine. But in our tests, both Botox and cold water swimming have made a massive difference to Hannah and Linda's lives. And I'm hopeful that Richard will start to see a benefit after further treatment.
For far too long now, I've been frustrated by a shocking lack of treatments designed specifically to treat migraine. But as we've discovered, there are some cutting-edge therapies on the horizon to treat and prevent the condition. I think we've still got a lot to learn, but I'm really excited for the future of the millions of migraine sufferers here in the UK.
Next Thursday at 8, we take a journey coast to coast through the Australian outback in brand new World's Most Scenic Railway Journeys. Next tonight, a single mum and her 2 daughters are in desperate need of Nick Knowles if her new relationship's to survive in brand new Big House Clear Out.